Hey, what's up guys, Jaeky here. Today we're going to be unboxing and reviewing the Simgot EM6L. This is an IEM by Simgot priced at $110 USD. If you guys remember earlier, I reviewed the Simgot Supermix 4, which is priced at $150 USD. Both of these IEMs were sent out by Simgot for review, so huge shout out to them. So here are the Supermix 4s, and I've been maining these IEMs for the past around 2 weeks now, and I really like them for both music listening and competitive FPS. I've been using them in Valorant and just for general music listening, and these are probably one of my favorite IEMs that I've listened to, especially for the music genre that I listen to. I mainly listen to EDM, and for bass heavy songs, the Supermix 4 just really has nice and punchy tight bass, which I really like. If you guys want to check out my full review of the Supermix 4, I will leave the video to that in the description below. But for this video, we are primarily looking at the EM6L, which came out before the Supermix 4, and I've heard a lot of great things about the EM6L, especially for competitive FPS games. A lot of people have said really good things about the EM6L. So here is the frequency response graph for the EM6L. It is tuned towards the Harman 2019 target, and I'm by no means an audiophile, but I'll just be giving you guys a subjective view of the EM6L for both general music listening as well as competitive FPS. The EM6L features one dynamic driver as well as 4 balanced armature drivers, and on the screen right now you can see all of the technical details of the IEM. Okay, so without further ado, let's get the box open here and take a look. So when you open the box, you get the IEMs themselves. I really like the design of both the EM6L and the Supermix 4. I think they're very elegant designs here. The EM6L, you can see there, is just a black design with just the print there of the logo, and it's just super clean. Same thing with the Supermix 4, just really clean designs here on these IEMs, and I really like that. So in the box, obviously you get the IEMs themselves. Under that you get ear tips. The ear tips here are pretty much the same ones you get with the Supermix 4. You get a set of small, medium, and large silicone tips. Just 3 sets is all you get. You also get a hard carrying case here, some documentation, and inside of the carrying case you will get a silver plated cable. This is what the cable looks like. Very similar to the cable on the Supermix 4. The Supermix 4 cable is a little bit more thick than the EM6L cable. So yeah, I don't really have any complaints or anything about the cable. It feels pretty solid. And your connectors here are just your typical 0.78mm 2 pins. Here's the nozzle of the IEM. There's no lip on it. With certain ear tips, they might come sliding off, but I haven't had issues with that at all on my Supermix 4. So I imagine I'm not going to have any issues on the EM6L either with ear tips sliding off, but that is something to note. Some people do find that ear tips will slide off if there's no lip on the nozzle, but I've never had that issue personally. I'm going to be putting on the medium ear tips. I also use the medium ear tips on the Supermix 4. There you go. That's what the IEMs look like right there compared to the Supermix 4. The EM6L sort of has more of a glossy design, whereas as you can see on the Supermix 4, it's more of a matte brushed design. The resin shell on the Supermix 4 definitely is a little bit larger than the EM6L, as you can see there. EM6L is definitely a little bit more low profile. With that being said, I haven't had any comfort issues with the Supermix 4 in terms of the shell. The only comfort issues I've had is actually the cable loop that goes around behind the ears. This happens with every IEM that I've used. It's just, it causes discomfort on the back of my ear and the top of my ear if I wear IEMs for too long with this cable that goes around, just because the cable irritates the back of my ear. But the IEMs themselves don't actually cause me any discomfort. Okay, so now that we have these unboxed, I'm gonna plug them in, use them for a little bit of gaming as well as music listening. I'm also just going to be swapping between this and the Supermix 4 just to see the difference in sound signature. So yeah, I'll be back in a sec. Okay, so I just did a lot of A/B testing with the EM6L and the Supermix 4, and I really like the sound signature of the EM6L, but at the end of the day, I actually prefer the Supermix 4 a lot more. So in my opinion, if you have the extra $40 to spend, I would go for the Supermix 4. Let's just get the Supermix 4 out of the picture real quick. Let's just strictly talk about the sound signature of the EM6L. Also, one other thing is, as you can see there, these are fingerprint magnets just because of that glossy design. So you can see I just handled them for a short amount of time and they already have a bunch of fingerprints on them just because they're glossy. So that's another advantage of the Supermix 4. As for the sound, they actually sound very good. So like I mentioned earlier, the EM6L are Harman tuned. So for the lows, the sub bass is pretty solid. It has really nice control, but The bass feels a little bit soft compared to the Super Mix 4, and what I mean by that is that the Super Mix 4 definitely feels a lot more dynamic and punchy in its bass, where the EM6L sounds a little bit more light and soft when it comes to the bass. So I definitely prefer the Super Mix 4 when listening to bass heavy tracks or genres like EDM and rock. The Super Mix 4 are definitely better for that, but the bass on the EM6L is still pretty tight and fast. The mid-range is pretty forward and also very rich and warm, so male vocals and female vocals come through very strong. But since the sound is so forward, it can get a little bit fatiguing if you are not used to that sort of in-your-face vocals mid-range. The highs are pretty bright. There is a lot of detail in the treble and quite a bit of sparkle in there as well. It's not super fatiguing, at least for me, but if you are very sensitive to treble, then it might be a little bit fatiguing for your ears. And the soundstage and imaging on the EM6L are very solid. I can see why people recommended this for competitive FPS gaming, because the soundstage and the imaging on these is excellent, although not as good as the Super Mix 4. I definitely prefer the Super Mix 4 in pretty much every aspect when compared to the EM6L, and it kind of makes sense just because the Super Mix 4 is priced higher and it has more of those drivers inside as well. The EM6L honestly is a really good contender with IEMs that are even more expensive than it, like above the $150 price range. So again, if you do have the budget, I highly recommend going for the Super Mix 4 over the EM6L. But if you do decide to go for the EM6L, these are still a fantastic set of IEMs. Overall, the EM6L is a warmer signature with very forward vocals. My only real nitpick of the EM6L is that bass. Especially coming from the Super Mix 4, where the bass is so powerful and punchy. When I listen to the EM6L, it just sort of feels too soft in the bass region. But obviously sound is subjective, and if you don't like bass, then you might actually end up preferring the EM6L over the Super Mix 4. For gaming, I really had no issues using these either. In Valorant, I was able to pinpoint footsteps very easily, just like I was able to on the Super Mix 4. When there was a lot of utility going off and a lot of abilities going off as well, I really had no issues discerning footsteps from gunshots or anything like that. So honestly, a very solid performer when it comes to competitive FPS. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. That was my review of the Simgot EM6L. If you guys are interested in picking up these IEMs, I will leave a link to them in the description below. That's pretty much it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.